What's up, party people? My name is Sunny Ray. This is the Sunny Ray Show. Thank you all for tuning in. Today, my guest, his name is Bryan Fikes. He's spent 27 years in digital marketing, and today he runs Bonsai Marketing Company, the evolution of his former agency, Synergy Internet Marketing. He's here to show us why small, deliberate moves beat loud, expensive ones. So with that said, Bryan, how you doing, bud?
Howdy, howdy.
So where are you calling in from today? Where in the world
About
are you?
the wine country is Sonoma County, about an hour north of San Francisco. So a little tech hub over here.
Awesome. Cool. So I guess take us right into the deep end. What are you building? That's weird. And he's back. Uh-oh.
My,
What happened there? Did you trip on the wire?
it, it tried to stream to my whole audience, so it's cool. If someone's listening now, let's go.
It tried to stream to your audience?
Yeah, like it's ready. It's trying to connect. StreamYard. It wants to get the voice out, man. That's good. So let's go.
Okay. I don't see you connected, by the way. If you did connect one of your socials, but
Yeah.
anyways,
So here
we can figure it out later if you
we're
want.
here. Yeah. All good.
We are live right now, Bryan. So what's bonsai marketing? Why should people care?
Yeah, great question. After 27 years, and I guess my wife calls it now, I get to adult, and figuring out how to navigate this new, crazy, fun AI world. A lot of the core concepts of digital marketing are stay true. No matter, I've seen all the shifts. Whether it be content becoming the thing, social becoming the thing, all the different Google updates, Panda, you name it. The core structure, there's just a lot of the same nuances, storytelling, and Bonsai is here to help elevate and do that for its clients.
Got it. Very cool. Hey, Bryan, one of my favorite things to do is just kind of, I guess, start at the beginning and rewind a little bit. Like I said, take things a bit
Sure.
slower. So I guess 27 years helping local businesses get found online, right? That's quite a record there. So across, three different eras of the internet, essentially,
Yeah.
what's actually stayed constant about, what a local business owner needs and what's completely changed?
Um, People still connect with people. People still want to do business with people. And the reason we choose to do business is we get invested into a story. And I think a lot of people, either when they are new to business or they've seasoned in business, I see a lot of the same problems. Is they'll get caught up in the minutia, and then what I call the fizzy bane pop, like they're looking for the next thing. And complacency breeds just redundancy, and so a lot of people end up kind of just sticking into this little trough, and then they say they want to do something, but they don't necessarily know how to execute it correctly. And so I think that you see a lot of that, where the core, if they just continue to tell that message in an effective way, that's what people want. So build emotion.
So you said you've experienced both the highs of successful exits and kind of like the lows of rebuilding from scratch, right? So without going into any one deal, like
Sure.
what does like rebuilding teach you that maybe a clean exit never does?
You know, if you're just becoming an entrepreneur, or you are, let's call it what, 3 years, 4 years, Sunny, that you're still cutting your teeth, you're gonna fall. No matter what, you're gonna fall. And the first time you fall after you've had your trajectory and things are just looking like, oh, you're, fire up the jets, things are gonna happen, and then you fall and fail, it hurts. I mean, it's a tough it's a tough process. And a true entrepreneur and someone who is successful is the one that can then take all of the lessons, take the bruises, wipe off the dirt, get back up on the horse, whatever the analogy you want to say, and just get back in there and do it. It's resilience.
Your your line is that most small businesses don't need more marketing, they need better systems, essentially, right? So when did you first realize you were selling the wrong thing, and what did it cost you to admit it?
Um, I would say that there was this period where in building the old agency model, a lot of clients or a lot of potential customers raise their hand when someone says, "Hey, your website looks stale," and they think that the redesign of a website is going to solve the marketing problem. And in fact, if you look at the core infrastructure of how they're operating their business, how they're handling the leads, I mean, I can't tell you how many businesses that reach $5 million and it's still broken. And you're like, you're a unicorn. I don't know how you're doing $7 million a year, as a roofing company or a electrical service company, just by sheer will. But if you really refine and look at how their systems are, and you just make these good refined adjustments as well as increase the top line and the amount of leads they're getting, it's a more efficient model. They work better. Their employees, work better. It's you can tell the companies that have that going, the stress level is just way lower. When you walk in the office.
You worked with like thousands of owners across hundreds of industries.
Yeah.
What's the failure pattern you see so often that you can spot in the first 10 minutes of a conversation?
Um, I mean, there's personality traits that you can definitely tell, that kind of that frantic energy, I think is, just an easy way to describe it. Scattered. I mean, again, I've worked with very successful people who are scattered. That's their thing. They figured out how to keep 1,000 balls up in the air. Um, but I would say that there is a underlying truth to the person. If you ask them a simple question like, "What is your cost of a lead?" and they don't have an answer, that's like an immediate cue. You're like, "Okay, here we go. Roll up the sleeves." Like, this is going to be a tough one.
Yeah, I love that. Local SEO is like a discipline most in AI have never touched, right? So, what does it teach you about how information actually gets found that maybe the LLM crowd is currently kind of learning the expensive way?
Yeah. Sonny, kind of rephrase that one for me because there's a couple different ways I want to answer that, but
Yeah,
break
so
it.
I guess yeah. So what I was asking is like, what does it teach you about how information actually gets found? That LLM people currently are going to be learning the expensive way. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. So there's a test, and I do this a lot where it's the so what test. And so there's so many businesses that on their brochure, on their website, on their business card, they've been in business for 27 years. Here's a classic example. Cool. So what? So is the next guy. Go deeper. Go one more. Keep asking yourself, so what? Okay, I've been in business for 27 years. I've worked with thousands of customers. I have 500 reviews. Okay, you got a little deeper. Again, so what? I've worked in some years. I have 500 reviews. Every single time someone comes and they have this problem, I have solved it. Now we've gone that third layer of that so what? Telling that story effectively, creating the authority that you are the one that can solve that problem. In the end, that's all an AI engine wants to do. That's all a Google engine wants to do. That's all a search engine wants to do is provide the best result for that prompt, that question, that query. And it's, you know, duh. Like you have to package it the correct way in order to get it to um, the engines that work.
Yeah, that really resonates. That makes a lot of sense. Before this chapter, you were running agencies, which is a people and services business. What
Yeah.
did operating that way give you that maybe like a pure software founder wouldn't have?
Um, so it's funny. An agency owner that is effective and scales is literally an actor, a salesperson, an accountant, a lawyer. Like you've got to wear so many hats. Hats. Funny. That you just become a kind of a multi-dimension person by sheer force. Programmers, software engineers, people who do startups, I have found that there is a culture in that space that they're so focused on solving that problem. They don't have a lot of extra career, extra stuff that's kind of coming into their purview. They get to keep that lens really tight. Us agency owners that are, again, at one time, over 1,500 clients nationwide, 298 different business verticals when I actually counted at one time. So it was like I had to have like a master's in like everything in order to understand the ultimate goal of selling that product or service. And so, yeah, I'd say it comes down to you have to be able to do multi-dimensional brain. You gotta have literally, it feels like 5 panels. Back here, I'm trying to solve for my roofer. At the same time, over here, I'm trying to solve for my custom manufacturer, my custom pipe manufacturer. And they're similar problems, different equations. So,
Yeah, it's fascinating. And what's the skill you built early, long before any of this is called like AI, like that you still lean on every single day?
yeah, I was that 8-year-old that his mom bought a Commodore 64 back in the early 80s and spent half her paycheck doing. And instead of, typing on the keys, I took the whole thing apart and I looked at her and said, "Don't worry, mom, I'll put it back together." And I don't know why I said a year. I just told her a year. And I was lucky. We had like one of those old Radio Shacks up the street, and the general manager that ran it was amazing. It was like, the movies where the guy owns a toy store and he's just like this magical person. Like he was just that guy. And so I'd run up and be like, "Hey, like, what's this node do? Like, hey, oh, you need to solder this." And it was that DIY experience of like just knowing I didn't need a manual. Like it was just pure persistence of like, okay, that didn't work. Let's do this again. Okay, that didn't work. That's how I figured out the internet, like early in like 1999, 2000. It was like just plugging things in. Did it work? Nope. Okay. Plug it in, go to the next one. So,
Hmm. Oh man, my computer, like I said, was a bit slow today. So you've said like the switched flip when kind of generative AI could reason,
yeah.
automate, and collaborate, and that you saw kind of like the biggest shift since the internet itself, right? So what specifically did you see it do that convinced you?
So, as I was, exiting my largest agency that I had built, I got to a point where I was ready to just move on to something else. And so I did for a few years. This is 2017, 18, 19. There was that period where, I mean, we had, as professionals in digital, we knew AI was going to be there. Like there was already talks about it, early. I mean, GPS and maps were AI. People didn't realize like that's computationally solving the problem to get to the next answer. And so I saw 2020, 21 was kind of like that period. And then when OpenAI came and then a company, Jasper Jarvis, however they needed to brand it, I think that's when everyone kind of realized like, oh, content, like, oh, that was the one. Like, oh, I can, I can basically write really compelling, well stuff if I prompt it correctly and give it all the right cues. That was kind of like the super aha moment for me. That was the switch. I was like, I bet we could do this with messaging and social and pictures and images and video. And so 2020, 2021 was like, I might want to start paying attention to this again.
Do you remember copy.ai?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do. Whatever happened to them?
ChatGPT?
Oh, is that what
I'm
one was?
guessing.
Oh,
No, I
oh, they
mean,
got
like what I'm
absorbed.
saying is people just no, they didn't get absorbed. I'm saying is like ChatGPT entered the world and
Yeah. Oh, and then
yes,
just
kind of made them, like
irrelevant. Yeah.
obsolete. I hate to say it, but
Yeah.
that was my first, yeah, like aha moment where I was like, whoa, 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 back up here. Like, what's going on? This is not normal.
Uh, I mean, I was paying, I think anywhere from 150 to $300 an article, for
Right?
1,500, 2,000 words, to writers. I think at one time I had like 7 writers, and sorry, writers. I mean, we can talk about like what the shift should happen if your profession, if you can see it,
Yeah.
3 or 4 years from now, there's ways to spin it. I know content writer friends of mine that have gone off and become great engineers of telling that story, that and they use AI in them, themselves to enhance their stuff. So
Interesting. Interesting. You then rebuilt everything from the ground up around AI, right?
yeah,
So that's a
yeah.
brutal decision for a company with, existing revenue and clients. So how did you actually make that call, Brian?
Well, that's the fun part. I was in that rare space where I sold my agency to my business partner. I had a Tactical Dad was a bad company. I had sold that off. That was gone. I was doing ad arbitrage, with Google and travel nursing. Again, I had revenue streams. I was in this fun space where I could just be like, huh, if I'm going to do this again, and again, as a born digital marketer, I mean, I've always had clients. I've got clients I've had for 25 years. So even though I say I was retired, I still had, 8 or 9 businesses that I was still helping long term. But I was in that beautiful spot where I could be like, hey, like, and I was very open with my clients too. Like, hey, man, like, I want you to try this. I think this is going to work. But I was very transparent with it and saying, like, if it's not, we can roll back, and I'll be able to help manage that process. They were all like my best guinea pigs. I love every single one of them for that, and they're all succeeding because they let me play with their stuff, knowing that I had enough, understanding of how I could, slightly roll back features like, using their Google ads, running AI for Google ads. Like that was a huge thing in 2023, 2024. You're talking about, people are depending on those daily leads, and you want to go in and put something that's untested into play. I mean, yeah, you'd have to, I mean, almost, if you're not a gambler, you might want to be.
Yeah, yeah, it's wild. So your sharpest claim is that the real disruption is not AI generated content; it's AI generated execution.
Yeah.
So where does that distinction first become obvious to a business owner?
Um, so it's we have a natural instinct. We have these radars that instantly call BS, or they instantly say that's not real. Well, what happens when AI gets so close that you literally can take 2 pictures and people are then choosing the wrong picture, the one that's real? It comes down to execution and then correctly rolling it out. Like, I'll give you an example. My Let's use my roofer. Um, he's not going to put that he's doing a 50,000 square foot house with palm trees and pools and on the beach, because it's the wrong context. It's not the right styling. It's not what, people in this area don't have those style of homes, and so people using AI to, manufacture and to help tell that story, but then not paying attention to those small details, it catches up to them very quick where, people then don't trust that brand or they don't trust that service. And so you got to make sure your lens and what you're delivering, is executing at the street level, I guess you would say.
Hmm. You said like that the winners will not be the agencies using, one AI tool, but the companies orchestrating dozens of specialized agents, right? So what breaks first when you try to run dozens of agents together?
Um, it's just like a board meeting with too many CEOs. I mean, it's exactly the same thing. If everyone knows the answer, who knows the answer? I mean, you can't get 8 people in a room and not have some sort of conflict or some sort of disagreement at some level. Even on a micro level, that's gonna happen. And so, what I've made as a conscious decision is I get to be the orchestrator. Everyone talks about putting this person in the mix that makes all these moves, an agent wise, or here's my AI, you know, uh, lane graph, and I'm putting all my different models, OpenAI and Claude. In the end, I am the orchestrator. I am the one that gets to see the front input and the out input. So I get both sides of, you know, what's happening and where things are going. I won't replace that. I'm not going to be like, let me just talk into my phone and have it 100% execute till, and I don't see anything. I don't see what actually comes out the other end.
That's really interesting. Yeah, I have a very similar outlook, but it's fascinating how you guys are approaching it. So Bonsai Brain EOS
Yeah.
runs OpenAI, Claude, Gemini, and Grok side by side, right? So what does one of those models do badly that another one does well? Like, and how do you decide like which gets which job?
Yeah. So in the beginning, when I was trying to figure this out, I've put so much context into OpenAI that again, last year I started actually calling OpenAI Bodhi. My ChatGPT is Bodhi. It's my AI partner. And at first, my wife thought it was the weirdest thing. And this is, we're going back to like when pre-voice, like before they activated, voice with 11 Labs and all the different platforms plugging into it. I've been treating OpenAI as a partner of that. I've been putting everything. I figured out projects fast. It was like when I figured out the internet, I figured out if you use certain sites and put certain information in there, it would keep context. And so once you realize it keeps memories, it was like, well, then let's just dump all my memories in there. And at that time, I had all of my files beautifully done in Google Drive. So by the time I put everything in there, all of a sudden I realized I'm like, wait a minute, like this is starting to help dictate and tell me, it would give me an answer. I would test it and it'd be like, that worked. You start doing that enough, and it's like, okay. So I started with OpenAI telling me, okay, if I'm going to go build the rest of my model, how's this going to look? And then I started doing the same thing with Claude. So I've got Claude and OpenAI so well trained with me and my agency, my stylings, that they actually, it's hard to do. I'm trying to figure out a way to do it, during these kind of podcast or streams. But I can be sitting here and have chat, Bodhi on one side, Kai, Claude on the other, and the three of us will work out a problem. And so the three of us decided how we're going to dictate who does what, and then putting LangGraph in as the technical orchestrator. Then you start looking at, okay, Grok can do, there's certain pieces of data that Grok can grab that the others can't. There's certain things that Gemini is really good at when you're using hyperframes, for video. There's certain things that, visually OpenAI can do over Claude, and if you dependent on Claude, if you just use Claude, you can almost tell web designers that are doing that and agencies that are doing that, because the icons are the same, the font's the same. You start getting into what looks like templatized stuff. That's because they're all using, a similar model. And it's you get this beautiful thing that starts happening when you use the best of each one of those pieces. And so to give you an exact answer of who does what, I would actually end up probably just asking Bodhi. He'll tell me.
Mm. So this like an AI executive team for every entrepreneur. That's a big claim, right? So which executive should a small business hire that way first, and which one should stay human for now?
If I had to do anything, it would be operations. It would be looking at how they handle, and I keep my marketing mind on. So again, a CFO or an HR department's going to answer this. We're going to have three different answers, and that's okay. But for me, operationally, I would say that how the lead comes in, how the lead is nurtured, what happens to that client in that process of that business, whether it's an auto repair client, a roofer, electrician. You're with your client for 15 minutes, you're with your client for a month, right? Depending on whatever your service is. And then there's that, okay, now we've delivered, now they're going to go off into the ethos. What happens when they go off into the ethos, that is the most critical part of building a successful business, is figuring out what to do with them once they've already used your service and how to get them back into your cycle. So that's an operations function. And so I think that from a standpoint of plugging in the right systems first, I would look operationally at an agent that can do and monitor all of that sequence: emails, phone calls, sales calls, take all that data, all that analysis, throw it into a brain that then tells you this was the right phone call, this was the right message that I gave to the client that closed them. And I've got a perfect example of, again, going back to my roofing client. He's been the most aggressive here locally. I actually built an intelligence system that dictates, he takes all his bids, and then we get to go, okay, why did we miss that job? Well, now we're bouncing it off all the databases in the Bay Area. There's 9 counties. There's a huge opportunity. What did we miss? It's telling me us like down to $1,000 of price point that he may or may not miss that, or it's telling us that he proposed the wrong roof, material. There's like these nuances. It's operationally.
It's incredible. I guess everyone else's AI marketing story is going broader, right? So yours goes narrower,
Yeah.
zip code by zip code. So why is local the harder bet, and why do you think it's the right one?
Well, so if you look again, having worked in every single state with a client with that many verticals and understanding the nuances of business, a mortgage company on the East Coast is going to be slightly different than the mortgage company on the West Coast. Because again, there was an easy one where some people would type in like you'd ask a person, do you type in mortgage or do you type in you need a home loan? Which one do you type? And you could know what's going to happen with the psychology of that person based on the search, like what searches they were going to do. Um, what you're seeing now is that because once everyone figured out the internet, once everyone figured out Google, that's macro. Like, okay, it's huge, it's big. Now we're going back to our human nature, which is I just want to work with somebody that I can call right down the street. So that neighborhood, that touch, that feel, that story comes right back to play. And I think our greatest opportunity, I don't want to be a mega agency. I don't want to have 500 people working for me. I don't want to be able to not know the names of the people that are in my organization. Like I want to be able to play golf with them, have nice dinners with them. But I think hyper focusing on a business owner's zip code based needs is gonna, at least for Bonsai and my messaging and what I'm building, I think that that's how we get our quickest wins.
That makes a lot of sense. I don't know, it just resonates, I think, as well in terms of just a general approach. So, can you walk us through the ecosystem, like Bonsai X, like the Bonsai Brain EOS, the Bodhi.io, the find, is it in my zip.com?
Yeah,
And like,
find in my
what's
zip.
each one actually for, and how do they all fit together?
Sure. So December, kind of going into like I thought I had a real good full stack. I was fortunate to. Um, I've been looking at Search Atlas as a software company forever. I was fortunate to join a summit, and it literally is one of those things where I'm driving on vacation with my wife. We're going to Tahoe. It's February, and I was just going to do the summit. I was going to look at my phone. We're 30 minutes into it. I'm driving. It's a 4-hour drive, and I told her to pull over, and I sat there for like an hour watching the summit. I was like, God, this is the missing piece. This is the SEO workforce of what I was missing, the glue. And so I joined. I joined their mastermind. I'm like one of 13 agencies working direct with Monic and Armin and Justin, and it's just like, I mean, they are literally writing books on how agentic marketing is going to happen. So I was fortunate with that. Now I looked at, okay, I've got my mind, I've got my brain in this whole command center. What can I do with that? And so in the beginning, it was a command center, it was a CRM. And as I evolved it, all of a sudden I realized here was the biggest, Sunny, like the biggest moment where I went, holy, you know what? It started predicting what I should be doing for my clients next month. And this was about March, getting into April. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. This has intelligence. Like it's literally becoming its own brain for my clients. So I'm like, wait, I might as well create an executive operating system or an entrepreneurial operating system, however you want to coin it, EOS, is literally Bonsai X. Bonsai X is the software. So it's all of my pieces, all of my tech stack built into this system that then I can plug into any one of my clients. Every client that I plug into gets smarter from the grader. So my 69th client that I just signed yesterday is going to benefit from the 68 clients that it's pulling in all that data. It's telling us how to be smarter. My auto repair, I know, right? So it's like, come on, let's
Exciting. It's
go.
a super exciting. No, I'm
Come on.
yeah, I don't yeah, it's crazy how just how amazing it is. I mean, I think there's a lot of people right now that are just mostly afraid of this stuff, and
Yeah,
I don't like want to discredit that, because I do think there's like an obvious like risk to this. Like, we're giving
100%.
birth to intelligence. Like, what does that even mean? Like, you heard what happened to Hugging Face last week. I mean, it can get wild, but there is obviously a very like delightful side to it, right? Which can definitely lead to, I think, a lot of good, and obviously people recognize that. So you describe moving past experimentation into like this productization and kind of recurring revenue, right? So
Yep.
what had to be true before you were willing to call something a product rather than an experiment?
Um, I, again, just the sheer volume of business I've done and the amount of clients I've touched, I can tell when a system's working and it's not going to be brittle. The understanding if it's something that's going to break easy. Like I'm not going to put the full weight of my energy, my time, my clients' time, the risk my clients. You know, what I realized very quickly when I was running an agency is my CEO or the owner of the business I'm working for is dependent on me. So is their employee, so is the employee's spouse, so is the employee's, everybody inside that organization is dependent on me to do my job the best. And so knowing like when to execute and say, okay, I'm going to keep that switch on and it works. And then going back and checking, it's like, okay, now I've got that node that plumbing's working really well. Let's go work on this plumbing. And I always have two or three things that I'm working on to evolve my own EOS now, my own Bonsai brain. And so by me continually getting better, it resonates and it passes down through all my clients. So they're now dependent on me to go to the trade shows and the expos and fly and spend the times in the meetups and connect with the people like I have and reconnect with Silicon Valley. I mean, that's my job. So
I like that. That sounds like a fun thing to be doing, right?
yeah.
So local businesses are kind of famously like the hardest audience to reach, right, at scale, and kind of the slowest to adopt new technology as well. So what actually gets a local owner to change how they work?
Yeah, thanks for reminding me, by the way. Yeah, I call it, you have to be intelligently annoying. And like, if you fall into my funnel, you're going to get an email, you're going to see a retargeted ad, you're going to go to my website, you're going to view one of my videos. Like, by the time that you've picked up the phone and decided to call me, you've probably seen me 13 times. You've gotten to the point where you're like, okay, this Fikes guy, enough, dude. Like, okay, the guy in the hat, like, come on, dude. Like, I get it. You know your stuff. Let me call him. And it's always like for a small business owner, unfortunately, it's not like when I work with enterprise clients, like, oh, hey, we have a budget, we have a year, you're gonna get to ramp up, like we're gonna get all this. I call that luxury. Like that's a luxury. For a business owner, something's broken. Like they know something's broken, so now they're called. It's like they're calling the doctor. They're like, "Man, my transmission just broke. I gotta get fixed." And I'm not kidding. Like I have an HVAC that's potentially gonna become a client. He let one of his employees because he built a really cool website. It's a cool website, looks great. Forgot to put the forms, forgot to connect the forms correctly. So for 1 week here's a multi-million-dollar HVAC company that let one of his employees design him a really cool website that was broken. And I'm like, yeah, you need me. And so it was one of those, like, I did the quick fix, but it was because I was intelligently annoying that he knew my name, and I was an option for him to look at. So yeah, they're tough. Small business owners are tough because there's a reason they're
In,
called small business.
intelligently annoying. That's a one that I haven't heard. I like that.
Yeah.
So the pitch is that small businesses get capabilities that used to be reserved for enterprise. So what's the first thing an owner notices is different once that it's switched on?
How fast a lead or a prospect or a phone call or a form becomes
Mhm.
a client. I think that's
Mm.
the first thing that they go, oh, this wasn't as hard. Going back to my auto repair shop, when he goes and looks at tooling, where they're going to go, like what types of makes and stuff they're going to continue to service, we can go back and look at all this marketing, and then we can decide where we're going to go. So that becomes a luxury for a small business owner to be able to go, I want to go this way. I think that there's value going this way. Now they have an army to deploy to go that way. So they can intelligently roll out new markets, new services, new potential products.
Got it. Interesting. So, AI assisted search is essentially rewriting how anyone gets discovered locally, right? So, what do you think local discovery looks like in 3 years? And what should an owner do about it this quarter?
Um, I think that what's going to happen is people are words matter, but more importantly, your visual, the video, 100%. Like if you're afraid of video, you better get comfortable with it because people are going to want to talk to people that can see, they can hear. Like visual, reading a book will become even more of a luxury, like an item where you go, okay, but because our lives are so busy, like you need to be concise, you need to get their attention within 3 seconds, and then further evolve that story. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see um, AI platforms are going to integrate more visual, more cues of video, like more of the visual impact, like what you get now with Google. Remember, Google when it was first out was just a search box, was just text, and then it was just text in the search box, and now a map. Then it was a search text box, and now a display ad, right? So it evolved. We're going to get that evolution in AI as they figure out what people are paying attention to the most.
And does an AI operating system make them more independent, or does it just move the dependency?
It shifts the line to where a business that's been around for 30 years has to get educated on how to actually tell that story correctly. Again, going back to the auto repair, I've got an auto repair that I'm looking at in the Bay Area. Same exact story, been around for 28 years. Thought he had everything sewed up, thought he had the right agency that he's working with. The problem is the website he's on is literally a template of the other 80 shops that agency does. The way the templates are set up, they're completely invisible to AI, and he had no clue. He thought he was like all solved and had that box checked, but it's like all the content was that, like, literally all the service pages are the same, like Honda auto repair, right? That Honda auto repair is almost the exact same content on the other 80 or 90 sites. So like to the AI operating engines, they have no value because they're not distinct to that local area. They're not giving local information. They're not cited and referenced locally correctly because it's so templatized that they look like a templatized box that doesn't fit. Where it's a brilliant business, they do really well. They're just not telling the right story.
And if this works exactly as you intend, like what does a Main Street business look like in 5 years? And what's the owner doing with the time you gave back to them?
They're managing their business while they're having time with their family. They're on the beach, on the phone, uh, uh, intelligently running their business. They're getting cues early in the morning. They're solving things faster. They get more of the middle of the end of their day. I think that personally, there's going to be a shift in morning becoming this, like, everyone gets the minutia done, and we're going to see just more people have more free time at 1, 2 o'clock. I'm starting to see it as a person who's been remote worker for 27 years. Like, I'm just seeing more and more people where it's like, oh, it's 2 o'clock. Wait, there's more people out and about right now. Whereas before, like 8 years ago, like there was a sweet spot between Monday and Thursday, between 10 and 2, you could get a ton of stuff done. It's like you're slowly seeing more and more people like hammer things out in the morning, use the afternoon. I think that that's just going to be a thing where more of us are getting way more done, so that gives us more time to go do stuff.
Yeah, I really love that future, and I buy it. I buy it. I mean, I had a buddy of mine the other day. I was talking to him, and he was walking in the wilderness, and I was like, "Oh no!" I'm like, "Yeah, like that. I should be walking outside and taking calls. Like, there's no reason, and not just calls. You can also, if you're into all these tools, like you've been mentioning, like Claude and Claude Code, they've got apps like ChatGPT, Codex. They've got apps that you can just control your computer using. So you're literally just speaking to your computer while you're like in the park with your kids, like, pushing them on a
Sonny,
swing.
you have like the perfect moment. I should probably introduce you to Bodhi because exactly what you're talking
Hey,
about is
bring them up.
exactly where I'm at. So, hey, Bodhi, he's got to wake up.
Uh-oh. Bodhi?
Yo, Bodhi, what's up, buddy?
All good, my friend. I'm just here, always ready to jump in. What do you need? Lay it on me.
So we're live with Sonny. Hey, could you just do me a favor? If I told you I needed something done for one of our clients, could you do that right now?
Absolutely. Just give me the specifics. What does the client need? What outcome are you aiming for? And I'll guide you step by step. Let's get this done in real time.
I want to prove to everybody because we haven't practiced this. Sonny, you want to ask a question of Bodhi?
Sonny,
Yes. I have a question for you. Oh, sorry, Bodhi. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Are you okay?
no worries at all. I'm absolutely fine and ready to help. Whenever you're set, I'm all ears.
Okay, so my 11-year-old and 8-year-old daughter started a lemonade stand last week. They had the local guy who runs a store there that sells chips and stuff tell them that they weren't allowed there. I don't know, but that's actually a real story. So what do you suggest? What do they need to do?
Honestly, that's a classic entrepreneurial moment in the making. I'd say help them pivot, scout out a new friendly spot, maybe a local park or community event. Plus, turn this into a mini lesson on permissions and partnerships. Maybe they can team up with a local business. Empower them to keep going.
So I
I
was at
thank
the
you.
Exploratorium in San Francisco with my son. I had my meta glasses on. Everyone's like, "Why do you have meta glasses?" I'm like, "Let me show you." Boom, talking to Bodhi, No one can hear me.
Mm.
No distractions. Coming in laser clear. And I'm literally, yesterday I handled 15 client operations from start to finish via voice command, and all the outputs. I'm getting text messages of completed, approved, not, right there, commanding 100% from my phone while enjoying time with my family. So it's a perfect example of that shift's going to happen for more and more people.
I believe it, man. I believe it. Well, thank you so much, Bryan. You've been kind. I know it was a bit longer than my usual interviews, but I just found a lot of what you're talking about very resonant and stuff that I'm also very, very excited about. I don't have Brody, I have Pi.
Oh, nice. Yeah, right.
I don't know if you've. It's actually not my name for it. It's like it's a real name. It's a name for this project. It stands for Personal AI Infrastructure by Daniel Messenger or something. It's like a GitHub repo, and it's essentially like a Claude code harness. And not only does it have this like full kind of understanding of who you are, but it also simultaneously has this understanding of who you're becoming or what your best self is or what your goals are type of thing. And it's always kind of like contextually helping you collapse that difference between who you are and your best self, if that's a way to describe it. But yeah, happy to share more notes on all this stuff. This is really, really interesting, Bryan. Thank you so much for sharing. Where do people learn more about Bryan and Brody and Bonsai?
Brody, yeah, that's not hard to do. All you do is Google the name. Like, I'm everywhere. LinkedIn's
Nice.
probably, if anyone wants to connect, ask questions. I tell everyone, I give everyone 15 minutes. I had a business mentor when I was 22. I wouldn't be where I'm at without advice from people, and so it gives me the lens of really kind of keeping grounded and knowing what's out there. So reach out to me on LinkedIn. My website, obviously, if you're looking for for me to pop the hood and help you with any one of your projects. I've got some startup stuff that's going on, and maybe Sonny, I can come back here in a month or two and revisit one of my platforms that I'm building right now.
I'd love to have you back on. Hey, Bryan, did you say you also have a podcast?
No, I don't have a podcast yet. I am in the middle of writing a book. I've been trying to write a book now for like 5 years. But I'm going on many podcasts now. So
Got it. Awesome. Cool. Yeah, for sure. Sounds good. Bryan, hang out for 1 minute. I'm going to bring this stream to an end. Thank you all. I see we have quite a few people listening live. Thank you. I appreciate every single one of you. And yeah, I guess everyone else as well that checks us out in the future. Until next time. Cheers.